Sorry, can you grab that mic? So the key with this is the space. So that's pretend your hand is like this. That's how you get the sound.
All right. Can you make it lower?
Lower? Yeah. You can move it.
Perfect.
All right, I'm gonna turn on right now. All right, guys, what is going on? Entrepreneur Nation here on KUCI 80.9 FM in Irvine. I got my boy Ismail, and how do you say your last name, bro? Because I want to be culturally respectful.
Oyekan.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Notice how present I was. I didn't want to butcher it. I asked you how to say it, but I want to be like, hey, you know what, man? I wanted you to say it because it is your name, right?
It's all good.
Ishmael's a cat. He's a cool cat. This guy is... He's so... I looked him up. We met on social channels. I mean, ironically, it's interesting that this person is doing something on, social media and digital media, and that's how we connected. So he literally hustles using the same platform that he's helping others do. So that's kind of cool. But what's really cool about him is that besides him being a very intelligent, smart, extraordinary person and what he's about, he's also worked with phenomenal names. And in the world of influencer marketing, it's not about how many views you have, it's about the quality of people that you've been able to work with. And he's worked with some really amazing names. I mean, many of y'all know about my love for Floyd Mayweather, not as a person, but like his brand, the whole money team and all that. I mean, I made jokes that like I'm Ashweather when I get in my zone. Or comment on his personal life or anything like that. I just like this persona on Showtime and that whole thing. That's what I mean. And I just love that moniker of the money team, Ashweather and all that. Maybe it's the hip hop side of me. I mean, before I was doing what I was doing, man, I probably had aspirations to be a rapper. And hey, you never know one day. But anyways, and people laugh about it, but man, they trust you, man. Trust you, man. You all know it ain't hard to tell. It'll be amazing. But anyways, we're going to have a conversation in a moment, but this is a conversation for you all who really want to understand what it takes to become successful in influencer marketing. Whether you are a brand, whether you are a solo entrepreneur, whether you are an entrepreneur or founder, CEO, exec representing a company, because there's always that good connection, or whether you are someone in the pure creative space, like a music artist, or you're an entertainer, or an athlete like a Floyd Mayweather, whatever it is, Ishmael's caliber of people that he's worked with is phenomenal. I mentioned some of the names before. He's worked with Nipsey, may he rest in peace, DJ Khaled, Floyd Mayweather, and various other people. And then after that, we're going to talk about his conference and what he's all about. So it's going to be a really fast, high-paced thing. I want to set the tone. I normally do breaks, but I don't think I'm going to have to do a break. But we're going to have a good 20, 25, 30-minute kind of conversation. So thanks for being on, bro.
Thanks for having me, man.
So first off, I got to say, man, your hat's amazing. And
CMC, the Marathon Continues, R.I.P. Nip.
So tell us about your relationship with Nipsey before we get into everything else.
Nipsey was someone that I was fortunate enough to work with. He's now a legend. Rest in peace. He had a vision of being more than just a rapper, and I think that was quite obvious. He was a one of one. It was one of the most innovative digital marketers as far as music has ever seen. Here's an independent artist that came up with different concepts like Proud to Pay, where he sold 1,000 CDs that he released for free the same day.
Wow.
And was impactful enough as an independent artist to sell 1,000 CDs to people for $100 a pop.
Dang.
That says a lot about your marketing skills, you know what I mean? And not only that, it says a lot about how people related to his energy.
What do you mean his energy? I love that concept. What do you mean his energy?
Well, I think energy is something that doesn't lie.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're in the presence of, if you're in tune with yourself, I think some of us can develop the skill set where you can feel people's vibe. And anyone who's been fortunate enough or was fortunate enough to have met Nip would attest to that. He had a glow to him that, even though this guy had this image as a gangster or whatever, you could still feel that this was a genuine soul.
Good.
That wanted to do good by people, and I think that's apparent now.
So it's funny. I was having lunch today with one of my business partners, and I was talking about. So I've had the fortune of being able to. I've met both past presidents. I've met President Trump and I met President Obama. And someone asked me. He asked me, well, what is President Obama? Or I brought it up that I met them.
Yeah,
and I was
what was
about,
President Obama like?
You want to talk about energy? And when you said energy and command and knowing how to tap into your own energy, and I'm not talking about a mindful meditation spiritual side, which is also there. I'm talking about this persona energy or this external energy, I think of President Obama. Like, I have to say, if President Obama, and I said this to my partner, if President Obama was not a politician or a lawyer, he'd be a movie star. He has this swagger about him, and I don't want to butcher the name swagger, like this like style about him. Whether you liked him or not liked him, he had a charisma and energy that you're just like, you're in the presence of a celebrity, like a real celebrity or a real influencer. Like when I look at influencers, I think of like the good ones have this energy. And even President Trump, and I know we're in interesting times right now, but I will say he has an energy too. There's a reason why he has been able to go into rooms and command a presence and get certain things done, coming into politics without ever running. Again, it's not a political show. I'm not promoting one side or the other or President Obama versus Trump. I'm just promoting the fact that both of them have their own types of energy, and they have used that to attract people. And whether you like or dislike them, after meeting them, you will not deny that there's something about them, this aura, this presence. So I like that you mentioned that Nipsey has that. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, he was a high vibrating person.
Yeah.
And I think that...
What do you think his habits were to get into that mindset? Did he write every day? Did he do some meditation? Did he I'm just curious.
You know, every time I meet someone important, I try to leave an impact and I try to add value. And when I was working on an influencer marketing project with Nipsey, and I thought about what can I give this person so I stand out. I did a lot of research on him, and I was like, let me get him a book.
Okay.
And he started recommending books to me. So that kind of tripped me out that he read that much.
Wow.
I mean, I wasn't trying to box him in or, stereotype him or whatever, but I just didn't put two and two together.
So he was inspired by the spoken word.
I was inspired by the fact that he invested in reading as much as he expressed.
Okay.
And he told me about several books, and he also explained how he was putting that into his music. Like, he talked about a book called The Spook by the Door. I'm not sure if I have the right name of it. But there's actually a list on social media of some of the books that he was reading.
What is one book? You remember any other books on that?
General business books.
Cool.
The Richest Man in Babylon.
Great book. Legendary.
Stuff like that. But
Okay.
we weren't like the closest of friends, but we had a business relationship.
What was your relationship with him? If you mind me asking.
I mean, we were working on the project together, and I met him through a good friend of mine that I grew up in LA with called African Larry. He grew up with Nipsey. In the earlier stages of his life, they grew up together, and Nipsey had a lot of respect for him, and he was mutual. And Nipsey seemed to me like the type of person that never changed.
That's amazing.
And so I asked Larry, look, I want to connect with Nipsey, blah, blah, blah. And we went to the studio, and we were looking for Nipsey. We were sitting there for a couple of minutes, and Larry was like, man, where's Nipsey at? And we found him sleeping on the floor in the studio while we were waiting there. He was like, this dude sleeps on the floor in the studio. Like, this is at the height of his career at this point.
So he's like an all-in kind of person.
Like, the dedication was apparent at that point.
Okay, so let's change the subject for a second.
Like, he wasn't passed out or nothing. He was just like
no, I know.
overworking.
He was overnight.
He was soaked in the moment.
Like I remember. You ever seen that Netflix doc series on unsolved murders or unsolved the Tupac Biggie thing?
Yeah, I haven't watched it, but I get the vibe.
Okay, so it's loose. It's a biopic doc on the whole Tupac Biggie murder, and the thing I learned about Tupac when you see that is, and they showed this in Straight Outta Compton too. They always show Tupac doing two things in the studio, and he does not want you to distract his flow. Like, he would be in the studio for like almost 24/7. I know there's the fun side of Tupac, the media image, but you knew he was in there. So when he brought up Nipsey, that dedication is why Nipsey, alongside Tupac, or from a business music selling standpoint, were so successful. They're all in. So do you feel that to be a successful influencer, my point I'm getting at is that, do you feel like you gotta not just be authentic, but you gotta be like all in on like one thing? Like, you're really good at one thing or two things?
I don't know if that's a general law, but I think there's a strong correlation between that. I think when you're credible at something, for example, with Nipsey, there was a client of mine, which is a music startup company, shout out Vest. They have a platform that's quite disruptive in the music IP marketplace.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, not to pitch them, but what they do essentially is they allow fans of music to invest in a song. So think about how much money you spend on music, right?
Yeah.
Your subscription to Spotify, you watching YouTube videos, and the ad revenue being generated from that. As fans, collectively, we don't participate in that economy.
Yeah,
right?
it's true.
Michael Jackson, throughout his career, has earned $4.2 billion.
Okay.
And he died about a decade or so ago over that.
Yeah.
And half of that money came after he died. So the point I'm making is half of his revenue, Michael Jackson, probably the biggest brand in music ever, came in the last decade because of streaming, right? So the value of those assets is only going to get more exponentially. It's gonna grow exponentially, right, over the years, as streaming explodes. Okay, so that what's happening right now is in music, there's a whole disruption going on in how we consume music, and not to pivot too far away. What they do is they allow us to participate in that economy. Yeah. Right? So if you had invested in a Michael Jackson song, hypothetically speaking, you can benefit from the explosion in streaming.
It's an asset. It's a property. It's like investing in real estate.
Exactly. So traditionally, you would have to go to a publishing company as an artist to get an advance. But now you can go directly to your fans. So it's kind of like a derivative of crowdfunding. Okay. So this seems like complicated to explain to the average Joe, but you get it. But
look, we've actually talked about crowdfunding ad nauseum. Take out my own experience, which we've talked about offline. Crowdfunding is something that I have encouraged because most of our show audience is entrepreneurs and business professionals wanting to like scale and build something epic. And I've always said that the fastest way to generate an audience or an influence is using some platform that gets your own audience or or future tribe get involved with you on your journey. And it's genuine that way. It's authentic because they're like, hey, you're getting a piece of the pie, even if it's 100, 250, doesn't matter what it is. That's why Kickstarter's done so well, Indiegogo's done so well. So that's interesting.
It's emotional connection.
Emotional connection.
Right.
So let's go outside of music. Let's go outside of Nipsey. Let's talk about a little more about some of the other people you've worked with, and then we'll get into the projects you're doing right now. Right. Who are some other names that you would like to share some examples?
Well, most influencer marketing projects involve NDAs, but publicly I can state that I've worked with Nipsey, I've worked with DJ Khaled. Okay. I've worked with Floyd Mayweather.
Were you behind his Snapchat strategy? Because that is a genius idea.
Yeah, DJ Khaled also is somebody who was very passionate.
No, but he owns Snapchat. He is Snapchat. It should be called Khaled Chat. Like, Snapchat is relevant because of DJ Khaled. I'm not kidding.
Well, I got on Snapchat because I heard a lot of people saying, you should see what DJ Khaled is doing on Snapchat. And I was like, at that point, it was with social media, there was so many platforms. Like, for example, I don't go on Facebook as much as I used to. When I used to spend more time on Facebook, now, like most people, I spend most of my time on Instagram. Okay. And Snapchat, I didn't have the bandwidth to invest my time.
Or you didn't have the interest. I mean, if you were passionate about it.
The interest is part of that, yeah. But I just wasn't, it didn't appeal to me to get on Snapchat. So speaking of influencer marketing, when people started talking about, man, this guy DJ Khaled is killing it on Snapchat, I was curious. And that's how I got on Snapchat. And I'm sure that happens to millions of people.
No, he's brought on millions of people. That's a documented fact. That's on the, they brag about it. I mean, they had to make up for it for what's her name? The Jenner, the one who made a comment and like their stock dipped because of it. What's her name? Kylie Jenner, was that it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not as into the Gen Z makeup world. I'm sorry, but yeah, you can't blame me. But I have good eyeliner.
You don't fall in that demographic.
Yeah, ain't my thing. But all seriousness though, what else can you share about Khaled? Because he's obviously someone we all know.
Well, he's a Sagittarius. We actually have the same birthday.
Whoa, that's a blessing.
So what I observed was he was a great father. Cool. I observed someone that was very passionate and intense, very similar in person to the character and personality you see outside of in person. Mm-hmm. I have nothing bad to say about the guy. I think he's very blessed, very humble, and it was a pleasure to have worked with him.
Okay. Talk about one more person, and then we're going to take a quick break and talk about your ventures.
One of the most amazing human beings I ever met in my life was Floyd Mayweather.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that because we're on the radio or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm saying that because of the same thing going back to the energy thing. The perception you get of Floyd Mayweather is like this intimidating personality, but he happens to be one of the most humble people I ever met, ironically. Because here's someone who's, worth probably $1 billion or more. He's probably the greatest fighter of all time.
He's TBE, 50-0.
Yeah, and he picked me up from the hotel and was like, let's hang out. Wow. And to me, like, I'm a fan first, and I became a friend, and I just thought that That was one of the perks of doing influencer marketing.
Yeah.
And he, like I was able to hang out with him and ask him questions, and I got inspired by that a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, I just thought that was very. He told me about how he grew up.
What habits do you think he does every day to stay consistent at top? Because he's a savvy person.
I think what I noticed in hanging out with Floyd Mayweather for the brief amount of time that I was opportunity to hang out with him was it was someone who believed a lot in himself.
Okay, self-belief.
Wow, he was like the most confident human being ever. But at the same time, he was very approachable.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's funny because at one point I actually wanted to share a moment, and I was like, let me connect Floyd and Nipsey.
Wow.
So
That was a great
Nipsey
collab.
called me, and I called him back on FaceTime, and I was like, I want to introduce you to somebody, and he was like, ooh, like, and I'm telling Floyd, I want to introduce you to someone I respect, blah blah blah, and I connected them, and you know that was
Lightning must have happened. I bet
Looking
that day
back
there was
now-
a storm
looking
in
back
Las
now,
Vegas.
looking back now, that was great because Floyd didn't even know about Nipsey's music, and later on he went to a Laker game, and Nipsey was performing on his album promo
cool.
run. And he texted and he was like, I like the music. And I just thought that was kind of dope. So Floyd is someone who I have a lot of respect for. I think he's someone who's way smarter than people think he is. All these stupid memes on Instagram about him not being able to read. That's definitely not true. He was someone who was about his business a lot. Like,
Okay.
this guy is heavily invested in commercial real estate.
I bet.
He's done a lot of smart investments. One time he told me he had over 300 boxes signed to TMC. They have a merchandise play.
Wow.
He owns TV rights all over the place.
For
Like,
him.
he's making a lot of moves that don't make the headlines, and definitely he's not rich, he's wealthy,
Okay.
and that's very respectable.
What's your
for a
what's
black
your
man.
definition beforehand? What's your definition of what's the difference between rich and wealthy in your opinion?
I think wealthy is, if we're looking at mathematics,
Uh-huh.
a lot of richness.
Okay.
Right? I don't know if that makes sense, but that's it. Wealth is an intense amount of being rich, but rich might not be measured by, or wealth is not necessarily measured in dollars. It's very personal.
Like assets or
Well, I mean, that's how society defines it. I think wealth is defined
Ooh.
by, you could be wealthy in knowledge, you could be wealthy in health, you could be wealthy in, God-given gifts.
I dig
we
that.
call that talent or whatever.
So would you say that the most successful influencers you've worked with, they felt that they were wealthy whether they were on paper a millionaire or owned assets like the way Mayweather has, but they were wealthy from within?
I think they just believed in themselves. That's what I was saying.
But that's a sign of being wealthy.
Yeah.
Like you're very rich already.
Tons of self-belief.
Yeah, like I'm already living large from within.
Yeah.
Therefore, because I love this conversation because we talk a lot on this show, and one of my own personal beliefs is about mindfulness and like how to like be confident with yourself and celebrate the journey. But it's a journey that you decided to create, not being influenced by others. But the key though is that I like this. I'm gonna copy you on this. I'm gonna basically talk now. It's like about being wealthy within. And I'm serious. I mean, all jokes aside, I really like what you said about that. That's cool. Thanks, man.
Yeah, because look, there's people on record, they're all multimillionaires.
Mm-hmm.
They're all on top of their game. You know, you can argue that Floyd is, I don't know who's a more impactful boxer, Muhammad Ali or whatever, but he's still undefeated. He's very successful. He took the sport of boxing to a different level.
Yeah.
And did it on his own terms.
Yep, he did.
Nipsey was an independent rapper that did it on his own terms. And the same thing with DJ Khaled. DJ Khaled goes with the acronym We the what?
Yeah.
We're the best,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That explains how he feels about himself.
Yeah.
We is not just one guy. We is Khaled and his ego and his son and his everything.
I love it.
We the best. Like, who's the other guys? You know what I mean? But
Nice.
oh, that's just a joke.
Okay.
No point in saying that, man. I have respect,
No worries.
number of respect for him.
All right, man. Well, we're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna tune in about. I'll take the phone if you don't mind. We're gonna tune in about 5 seconds and just basically, just tune in and really just